Hey everybody, it's Jessica with Jessica Depew Wellness, and I wanted to come live. The subject of today's live Facebook broadcast is fat, and in particular, the good kinds of fat, the bad kinds of fat, what fats are more healthful for you, which ones do you maybe want to avoid. But hey, if you don't know me, I'm Jessica. I'm a mom, I am a wellness coach, I'm a yoga teacher, and I have lots of yoga clients, lots of wellness clients. I'm an entrepreneur, and my job and my passion is to help moms, help women just like me and just like you, to create healthy habits and manage everyday stress, and just really to overall feel more energized and more empowered in your life. And I do that by addressing habits around 4 simple things. Basically, how we eat, how we move, how we sleep, and how we think. So those are the 4 sort of pillars or 4 sort of tenets that you'll hear me talking about all the time. But hey, today we're going to be talking about the nutrition piece, the eat piece, and I thought this would be a cool little teaching and a cool piece of Wednesday wisdom, wellness wisdom to offer, because we're coming into the holidays. And it's really popular right now, this ketogenic stuff, and a lot of people are on keto diets, and as well as like the paleo movement, that's really popular now. And it's just amazing to me how this whole kind of shift has happened in the nutrition world over the last 20 years. And I've been following nutrition for quite some time. Those of you who know me, I try to kind of keep updated with the trends and then stay really steeped in what works and aware of what doesn't work and what's the hype and what's the sustainable thing to be aware of. And so for me, it's been interesting, because about 20 years ago, I can remember growing up in my grandma's kitchen. And I guess it's been longer than 20 years. It's been like more 30 years that I was in my grandma's kitchen growing up. But the staples of the southern refrigerator, we call it the fridge, were country crock margarine, Crisco, canola oil, and these sorts of things. Like, anything that you could get to a high frying point and fry chicken in and fry okra in. And that was how my grandma cooked, that was like this good, like deep South cooking. And so for me, I grew up around that kind of food. And when I got into nutrition in college and started getting into wellness and more holistic lifestyle things, it was a very weird for me to be like, wait a minute, margarine's not healthy? And that really didn't become aware, and you may know this, if you follow the nutrition world, you may already be aware of this, but I didn't know this for the longest time, that, margarine actually is less healthy than butter. And you may know it, and it's a new thing around this trans fat movement. We now realize that partially hydrogenated soybean oil, which is basically what margarine is made of, is not a great thing for the body. It causes a lot of inflammation. It's not a substance that's really recognized by the body. It's highly processed. And so those kinds of things you really want to avoid. And so we got smarter, in the last, 10, 15 years or so. Margarine doesn't necessarily contain that anymore. Now we've moved to vegetable oils, which sound healthy, right? Because they're vegetables. And it's right there in the name, vegetable. But this is like now your processed soybean oil, canola, safflower, sunflower, those kinds of oils. And they are better. I say better, they are more recognized by the body and a little more healthy than, say, the partially hydrogenated Crisco and margarine as from 20 years ago. However, they are very high in omega-6. And omega-6 is something that we tend to get a lot of in the SAD, the Standard American Diet. And the problem with it becomes that it can cause inflammation in the body. And inflammation, as you know, or you may not know, is the beginning and is the root of most disease in the body, most disease. And so we want to start to really think about avoiding those as much as possible. And they're not just in margarine anymore. They're found, these kinds of fats are found in mayonnaise. If you like Miracle Whip, if you like mayonnaise, if you like salad dressing that comes in a bottle, you're going to want to read the labels on that and see what's in that. But don't worry, I know, because like if you're from the South like me and you grew up with this stuff, it's like, wait, there's no ranch in my refrigerator. What will I put on my baby carrots. Right? What will I put on my salad? What am I going to dip my cheesy bread in, or whatever? Like, because we really love that ranch dressing. So just hang with me, and I'm going to address in a few minutes kind of some things that you can do, hopefully to substitute and just start to move into some more healthful fats. So that's the big fat lie number one, is that margarine is healthy. And so that's not accurate. And butter is actually going to be a little more recognized by the body, and it's going to be more healthful for your cells in moderation than those hydrogenated oils and those highly processed oils. And then, so what do we want to think about in terms of getting enough fat and getting good fats in your diet? And the thing about it is you want to start to look at things that are high in omega-3s. These are things like wild caught fish, and it's almost like a whole other sidebar of like the sustainability of fish and where they come from. The source is actually quite important, as well as fish oil and that sort of thing. But let's stay kind of hyper-focused here, micro-focused in that. So just a well-sourced, sustainably sourced fish. And also things like nuts, like walnuts and almonds. Peanuts are not a nut, they're a legume. And so that's not going to be something that is going to be sustainable as far as getting these omega-3s. But other nuts are good sources of those things. And as well as seeds, if you like your hemp seeds, your flax seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds are really abundant this time of year. And what you can do with those is just grind them up like in your food processor and keep a little glass jar of them in your refrigerator and sprinkle them into your smoothies. You put them on your oatmeal or on your cereal or on your veggies, and it gives them a little nice flavor, and you're getting those good fats. Another source of really good fat is avocado. Love avocado. Now, if you're eating it with fried chips from a Mexican restaurant, you're now getting the other kind of oil also. Sorry, it's true. But so if you can get them with, maybe like a nice veggie or a nice pita bread, if you like the guacamole, it's really, really great for you. Or I just eat it with a spoon. I love guacamole just plain. But so that's a really good source of good fat. You can cook with avocado oil. It has a very neutral taste. And you can use that in your baking if you do a lot of baking. And you can also cook with olive oil if it's a low heat. And everyone thinks, this is another little tidbit of information around olive oil, that extra virgin olive oil is good for salads and things that you do mostly at room temperature, but it's not going to be necessarily really great for high heat cooking, because it actually becomes toxic at very high heats. You can cook regular olive oil. You can saute with that a little bit if you keep the heat low, if you want to just saute some veggies, but you're not going to want to cook with an extra virgin olive oil. And this is a thing that I didn't really know for a long time either, but it's true. So as it gets hot, it actually becomes toxic, and so that's one thing you want to think about. And so, hey, how are you, Carrie? Good to see you. If you're tuning in, if you're here from Southeast Texas and you can relate to this sort of like grandma's kitchen sort of recuperation, and it's like, man, those foods are made with so much love, all the deep fried everything, and then now in this new wave of health, like trying to come into a more understanding of how do we maybe make some substitutes. But so those things, coconut oil, really great. So we've got avocado oil for baking, olive oil, not extra virgin olive oil, but regular olive oil for doing some sauteing or some cooking at low heats. And then coconut oil is like all the rage these days. It's so helpful for you. And I like to put a little bit of it in my coffee. I'm big on the bulletproof coffee right now. If you haven't done this in the morning, it's really a cool thing. And it just kind of helps to stabilize your blood sugar in the mornings, and it helps with satiation in the morning. Satiation helps keep you satiated and keeps you from feeling hungry in the morning. I'm making up words now. So you can give that a try. And if you're not familiar with the bulletproof coffee, you might want to get on this bandwagon. It's pretty good. Just do a web search for bulletproof coffee. And I'm not a purist. I don't necessarily use like the organic beans flown in from Guatemala, freshly ground in the French press. Like, I have an espresso and I like it. It's very easy for me in the morning. So I make coffee and then espresso, and then I just do the bulletproof protocol from there. But there are so many cool things you can do with that. You can add pumpkin spice if you like it this time of year, and that sort of thing. I do a little coconut milk, and it makes it just a little bit sweet. And so that's a good way to get your healthy fats. But yeah, so those are some things around fat. I hope this has been interesting for you. And I don't want to burst any bubbles, because I know it's like this time of year, I know I get to tend to get real bakey, and I like to cook, and I like to make some of the recipes that I grew up with around my grandma. I like to make her cakes and her cookies and her casseroles and all the things that maybe, contain these sort of fats that aren't so great for the body. And so if you want to just play with it and swap out some of these more healthful ones, I've done it in the past. I've baked with the coconut oil. I've baked with avocado oil before. I've baked with real butter. Very, very, very good. And so margarine can be set to the side. You don't have to use Crisco. You don't have to use canola. And then you just want to take care of your eating on your salad dressings. You can make a healthy salad dressing with extra virgin olive oil. Add in your little bit of spice that you like. Add in whatever you get, a little lemon juice, a little turmeric, a little whatever. And so you just kind of whip it up and have that. I know it's not ranch. I know it's not the same thing. Hey, if anybody has a healthy recipe for ranch, let me know. I do know at Basic Foods, the health food store here in Beaumont, I get an avocado oil ranch dressing that they sell. And it's a little pricey. It's like I think it's like $10 or $11 for like this little bitty bottle of ranch. But it has a ranch-ish flavor to it. It's not the same as like Hidden Valley or whatever, but it's pretty good. And so I use that. And that's a nice little tip. And you might be able to find that at your local health food store. If you know how to make it, then please send the recipe, post it, like and comment on that. But hey, here's the other thing. In the health movement, things are always changing. In the field of nutrition, it's like one year something's really great for you, the next year it's bad for you. Next year something's good for you, the next year it's bad for you. And so it kind of can tend to get tossed about by the trends of whatever's going on. And so you want to start to think about staying up to date with the latest sort of research and find your sources that you trust and experiment for yourself. But at the end of the day, if you're in a situation where you're unable to get the healthier things, and we all are busy, we all have kids usually and things to do, and sometimes dinner happens in the car. Sometimes it's takeout, sometimes it's Chick-fil-A, right? Sometimes it's a pizza. And every now and then it's the simple thing to do, and we're all kind of trying to maintain as much as we want to just eat clean. For me, I know that we care about what we give our kids. We want them to be healthy, but it's a practical world we live in too. So if you're in that situation, the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up about it. If you're having takeout in the car, then you just take a minute with your kids. You bless your food. And when I say bless your food, it's like whatever we deem it to be like healthful, not healthful. In that moment, it's like you absolve it of any judgment. Because if you're eating something that's quick and maybe doesn't have like a high nutrient content, and while you're eating it, you're thinking, oh, this is so bad for me. Oh, this is doing blah, blah to my arteries. Oh, I'm so bad for eating this, or I'm a bad mom for giving this to my kids, or blah, blah, blah. If you're doing that, you're just now making it 100 times more toxic for yourself. And so if you have a moment where you have a cheat day and you have the pizza or you have the fries or whatever, it's like, take a moment, bless it, forgive yourself. I say forgive yourself like you've done something bad, but bless the ingredients of it, and you just move on and you do the best that you can. And so I think that's a real big piece of it too, because in any world, the yoga world, the world of religion, the world of politics, the world of nutrition, people tend to get very polarized around one way of doing something, one way of eating, one way of working out, one way of interpreting a scripture, one way of, balancing the fiscal budget, one way of thinking about, and that sort of thing, when you do it with your food, is not going to be supportive of your overall health and your overall well-being. And so if you tend to get really myopic around, and I see this, guys, I see this with well-intentioned people all the time. It's like this whole oh, well, I'm vegan and I had a piece of cheese, or there was butter in that, or oh, I'm doing low carb and I had some popcorn at the movies, and it's like freak out. And so just be real merciful with yourself. Do the best you can. Experiment with different things. Find what works for you. And hey, if there's something that you want to hear me talk about. I'm going to be coming live 3 times a week. Then please post in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video and there's someone you would like to share it with, then just tag them in the comments. And also please give me a little heart, or like give me one of those little wowie faces. I like those guys that do that. Give me a thumbs up and like and share. And come back Friday. I'm going to be sharing on Friday. Friday is our favorite moment Friday. So this is the mindfulness piece. So you have 2 days. You have the rest of today and you have Wednesday to look for your favorite moment on Friday, so you can share and post and join me for that. So it's been great. That's all the time we have for today. This has been Jessica with Jessica Depew Wellness. Namaste.